Hello and welcome to Quiz Class. Today we have 100 questions on USA trivia. Let's begin with question number 1. Which American general triumphantly declared, "People of the Philippines, I have returned," on October 20th, 1944? Ulysses S. Grant, Douglas MacArthur, or George Patton? Douglas MacArthur. Who was John F. Kennedy's opponent in the 1960 United States presidential election? Richard Nixon, Gerald Ford, or Lyndon B. Johnson? Richard Nixon. Which mountain range goes down the eastern coast of the U.S. from Maine to Georgia? The Sierra Madre, the Cascades, or the Appalachian? The Appalachian. Which founding father is famous for having the largest signature on the Declaration of Independence? John Adams, John Hancock, or Thomas Jefferson? John Hancock. How many justices are on the U.S. Supreme Court? 9, 12, or 10? 9. Which U.S. president's home was known as the Sherwood Forest Plantation? Millard Fillmore, Zachary Taylor, or John Tyler? John Tyler. Which U.S. president famously said, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," in 1987? Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, or Ronald Reagan? Ronald Reagan. Who is the most recent president on Mount Rushmore? Theodore Roosevelt, George Washington, or Abraham Lincoln? Theodore Roosevelt. What U.S. city is known as the Queen City? Charlotte, Annapolis, or Helena? Charlotte. What is the official title of the U.S. Senate Majority Leader who presides over the Senate in the absence of the Vice President? The Senator Majoris, President pro tempore, or Leader in absentia? President pro tempore. What lode of silver found in Nevada was found in 1859 and is worth about $850 million today? Comstock, Carson, or Elwood? Comstock. What was the last state to join the U.S.? Alaska, Texas, or Hawaii? Hawaii. Which island did not become an American territory after the Spanish-American War? Puerto Rico, Guam, or Cuba? Cuba. What geographical line separated slave states and free states before the Civil War? The 39th parallel, the Continental Divide, or the Mason-Dixon line? The Mason-Dixon line. Which California city is closest to Silicon Valley? San Francisco, San Diego, or Sacramento? San Francisco. What was the name of Sacagawea's husband, the oldest member of Lewis and Clark's party? Sitting Bull, William Clark, or Toussaint Charbonneau? Toussaint Charbonneau. Which volcano in Washington state had a devastating eruption in May 1980? Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, or Kilauea? Mount St. Helens. Who is the only person who has served as the U.S. President and Supreme Court Chief Justice? Herbert Hoover, William Taft, or Dwight D. Eisenhower? William Taft. Which American Badlands is home to Petrified Forest National Park? Painted Desert, Medicine Rocks, or Makoshika State Park? Painted Desert. Where can you find Cloud Gate, a metallic structure that is locally known as the Beam? New York City, Chicago, or Boston? Chicago. Which federal agency was formed in 1952 after the Brownwell Committee investigated concerns over U.S. communications intelligence? The CIA, the NSA, or the RMA? The NSA. Which American landmark was completed in October 1941 after 14 years of work? The Statue of Liberty, the Washington Monument, or Mount Rushmore? Mount Rushmore. What is the oldest American city founded by Europeans? Jamestown, Virginia, St. Augustine, Florida, or Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? St. Augustine, Florida. What was the original colonial name of New York City? New Jersey, New Amsterdam, or Yorktown? New Amsterdam. Which British colonizer married Pocahontas? John Rolfe, John Smith, or John Williams? John Rolfe. According to the 20th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, what date is designated for presidential inaugurations? January 1st, January 12th, or January 20th? January 20th. In what year were enslaved Africans first brought to Virginia? 1619, 1649, or 1700? 1619. Which Massachusetts town is infamous for its 17th century witch trials? Worcester, Salem, or Springfield? Salem. What term refers to a series of radical evangelical revivals that increased religious activity between the 18th and 19th centuries? Holy rollers, Bible trains, or Great Awakenings? Great Awakenings. What natural formation became the border of British territories in North American Proclamation of 1763? Mississippi River, Ohio River, or the Appalachian Mountains? The Appalachian Mountains. How many people were killed in the Boston Massacre? 30, 100, or 5? 5. How did American rebels avoid detection during the Boston Tea Party? They dressed like native people, they swam through dark waters, or they bribed British guards? They dressed like native people. What was a term for a set of British laws that punished the colonies after the Boston Tea Party? The unequal acts, tyrannical acts, or intolerable acts? Intolerable acts. What was the first capital city of the U.S.? New York City, Philadelphia, or Boston? New York City. What is considered the oldest book printed in the British American colonies? The Puritan Bible, the Bay Psalm Book, or Common Sense? The Bay Psalm Book. Which state was the first to grant women the right to vote? Washington, Wyoming, or West Virginia? Wyoming. Which Massachusetts infantry unit made up of African Americans was famous for its exceptional courage during the Civil War? The 54th Regiment, the 45th Regiment, or the 36th Regiment? The 54th Regiment. Which Democratic candidate did Richard Nixon defeat in the 1968 U.S. presidential election? Lyndon Johnson, Hubert Humphrey, or Eugene McCarthy? Hubert Humphrey. Which of these New York City buildings was designed by architect Minoru Yamasaki? The Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, or the World Trade Center? The World Trade Center. Which city is nicknamed the Gateway to the West? Omaha, Nebraska, Austin, Texas, or St. Louis, Missouri? St. Louis, Missouri. Which American organization hired the first female military pilots during World War II? WASP, WAC, or WPA? WASP. Which U.S. political party is also known as the Grand Old Party, or the GOP? Republican, Democrat, or Libertarian? The Republican Party. Which major retailer was founded by Sam Walton in Rogers, Arkansas in 1962? Amazon, Sears, or Walmart? Walmart. What term refers to Gilded Age industrialists like Vanderbilt and Rockefeller, whose business practices were considered unethical? Kings of the underworld, robber barons, or dukes of hazards? Robber barons. Who was the first American woman to travel into outer space? Sally Ride, Mae Jemison, or Anne McClain? Sally Ride. When did President Barack Obama receive the Nobel Peace Prize? 2009, 2012, or 2017? 2009. What is the former name of Denali, the tallest peak in North America? Mount Taylor, Mount McKinley, or Mount Carter? Mount McKinley. Which U.S. president was compared to a dictatorial Kaiser during the women's suffrage movement? Herbert Hoover, Woodrow Wilson, or Calvin Coolidge? Woodrow Wilson. What moniker was given to Harriet Tubman for her work guiding enslaved people to freedom? Sojourner, Chainbreaker, or Moses? Moses. Question 50. Who was the first Black woman to run for President of the United States? Margaret Chase Smith, Shirley Chisholm, or Patsy Mink? Shirley Chisholm, or Chisholm. What was Alexander Hamilton's position in George Washington's presidential administration? The Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of State, or Secretary of Defense? Secretary of the Treasury. What name was Pocahontas given after she converted to Christianity in 1614? Abigail, Rebecca, or Sarah? Rebecca. Which national park does not have a portion of the Continental Divide? Glacier, Yellowstone, or Yosemite? Yosemite. Which African country named their capital Monrovia because it was founded during President Monroe's administration? Libya, Liberia, or Lesotho? Liberia. Who was the first woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Sonia Sotomayor, or Sandra Day O'Connor? Sandra Day O'Connor. Which U.S. political pressure group opposed aid to the Allies during World War II? The American First Committee, the American Legion, or Alexander Strategy Group? America First Committee. Who composed the Stars and Stripes Forever, the official march of the United States? Scott Joplin, John Philip Sousa, or Aaron Copland? John Philip Sousa. How many official versions of the American flag were created between 1777 and 1960 when Hawaii was annexed? 12, 27, or 50? "27. When did the Liberty Bell ring for the last time? 1846, 1787, or 1900? 1846. Which treaty transferred the Northwest Territory from Great Britain to the U.S. and ended the War of 1812? The Peace of Utrecht, the Treaty of Ghent, or the Treaty of Paris? The Treaty of Ghent. Which state is called the Empire State of the South? Florida, Georgia, or Texas? Georgia. What was the name of the Virginia plantation where George Washington lived? Monticello, Montpelier, or Mount Vernon? Mount Vernon. Which war interrupted construction of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C.? The War of 1812, the Civil War, or the Spanish-American War? The Civil War. Which state is not part of the Four Corners region in the U.S.? Arizona, Texas, or New Mexico? Texas. Who was the first Black justice on the U.S. Supreme Court? Ketanji Brown Jackson, Clarence Thomas, or Thurgood Marshall? Thurgood Marshall. Who composed the Star-Spangled Banner? Francis Scott Key, John Philip Sousa, or Scott Joplin? Francis Scott Key. Which First Lady saved Washington's most famous portrait and many official documents during the War of 1812? Dolly Madison, Martha Jefferson, or Elizabeth Monroe? Dolly Madison. Who founded the American Red Cross? Florence Nightingale, Jane Addams, or Clara Barton? Clara Barton. Which Teton Dakota chief participated in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show? Spotted Elk, Soaring Eagle, or Sitting Bull? Sitting Bull. Question 70. Who was the first Black woman to win an Olympic gold medal and the only American woman to win gold medal in the 1948 Games? Alice Coachman, Althea Gibson, or Florence Griffith Joyner? Alice Coachman. Which U.S. president was the first to appear on television? John F. Kennedy, Harry Truman, or Franklin Roosevelt? Franklin Roosevelt. What is the name of Thomas Jefferson's home and plantation? Monticello, Lindenwold, or Camp David? Monticello. Which of these people was a founder of the Standard Oil Company? John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, or Cornelius Vanderbilt? John D. Rockefeller. What is a nickname for people from Maine? Uplanders, Downeasters, or Maine men? Downeasters. Which American historian has 2 Francis Parkman Prizes, 2 National Book Awards, and 2 Pulitzer Prizes? James McPherson, Doris Kearns Goodwin, or David McCullough? David McCullough. Which environmentalist is considered the father of the national parks? Gifford Pinchot, Ansel Adams, or John Muir? John Muir. What was the first national monument in the United States? White Sands National Monument, Devil's Tower National Monument, or Montezuma Castle National Monument? Devil's Tower National Monument. Which of these is the oldest universities in the United States? Yale, Harvard, or Columbia? Harvard. What did Benjamin Franklin propose as the national bird of the United States? The cardinal, the peasant, or the turkey? The pheasant or the turkey? The turkey. Which U.S. president signed the Equal Pay Act, which mandated equal pay for equal work? John F. Kennedy, Dwight D. Eisenhower, or Franklin D. Roosevelt? John F. Kennedy. Which professional sports league was formed in 1949? NBA, NFL, or NHL? The NBA. What is the name of the building formerly known as Sears Tower? Lowe's Tower, Willis Tower, or Seagram Building? The Willis Tower. Who was president during the majority of the era of good feelings? James Monroe, James Buchanan, or James K. Polk? James Monroe. Which state was the first to secede from the Union before the Civil War? South Carolina, North Carolina, or Alabama? South Carolina. When was the New York Stock Exchange founded? 1903, 1869, or 1817? 1817. What is the surname of the architect who designed the Gateway Arch in St. Louis? Ibsen, Saarinen, or Korsakoff? Saarinen. Which U.S. state is known as the land of 10,000 lakes? Michigan, Mississippi, or Minnesota? Minnesota. Which acronym acts as the mnemonic device to remember the Great Lakes? Shore, water, or homes? Homes. Which city had America's first practical subway line? New York City, Boston, or Philadelphia? Boston. Question 90. Which U.S. state was not a part of Mexico? Colorado, Idaho, or Utah? Idaho. Which famous sculptor created the Statue of Liberty? Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, Auguste Rodin, or Marie Tussaud? Frederick Auguste Bartholdi. Which president finalized the Louisiana Purchase in 1803? John Adams, Martin Van Buren, or Thomas Jefferson? Thomas Jefferson. Which amendment to the U.S. Constitution formally abolished slavery in 1865? The 12th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, or the 14th Amendment? The 13th Amendment. Which term refers to the period after the Civil War when the nation's efforts were focused on rebuilding and recovery? Restoration, restitution, or reconstruction? Reconstruction. When was the Social Security Act enacted in the United States? 1935, 1941, or 1945? (1935). Which two states have the terminal ends of the Natchez Trace Parkway? Tennessee and Louisiana, Mississippi and Georgia, or Mississippi and Tennessee? Mississippi and Tennessee. What is the capital of Illinois? Chicago, Rockford, or Springfield? Springfield. Which Philadelphia street is the oldest continuously inhabited street in the United States? Adams Lane, Elfreth's Alley, or Windsor Road? Elfreth's Alley. What town is closest to the geographical center of the United States? Lebanon, Kansas, Paris, Texas, or Hartfield, Missouri? Lebanon, Kansas. And for our last question, which president officially made the Star-Spangled Banner America's national anthem in 1931? Franklin Roosevelt, Herbert Hoover, or Calvin Coolidge? Herbert Hoover. And for our bonus question, who was the oldest signer of the Declaration of Independence? Let us know the answer in the comments, and of course, how well you did. Thanks for playing this quiz. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.